I cycled 200 kilometers around one of Iceland's most historically active volcanoes. The 2,000 meters of elevation gain, combined with the washboard corrugations and deep sand, made it the most mentally tough thing I've done all year. I really struggled making this video because the experience left me wondering, what is the point of doing these ultra endurance events? I found out that my motivations now are quite different than they were when I started doing these crazy things over a decade ago. Yeah, I had to have the last one. Yeah. I just thought I would get better at these things. The Rift Gravel Race. A grueling 205 kilometers of cycling through the beautiful highlands of Iceland. The best word to describe this course is unrelenting. The first half of the race is a straight uphill drag, 2,000 meters of elevation gain in 80 kilometers. But the road conditions were such that even after the worst of the elevation gain was behind you, you always had to focus, pay attention, and put power down. I ended up having multiple falls in the thick sandbanks, walked some of the insane downhills. Okay, I'm getting over. What the hell? And cycled with frozen wet feet after the water crossings. Yes, I walked a lot, but it was no walk in the park. It started off well enough though. Beautiful summer scenery, a lovely little water crossing, and great gravel conditions. The legs felt good, I was in a good mood, and embarking on this bucket list ride seemed like the best idea in the world. But the elevation gain was insidious. The uphill proceeded in a gradual, subtle way, but with very harmful effects on my speed and my legs. By the time we reached the 50-kilometer water table, we were well over the time cutoff. The race marshals thought that we should turn around and complete the 100-kilometer out and back route. In the most friendly, most Icelandic way possible, they laid down the law. Yeah?
Catch me?
Yeah. Yeah, let's go. Cool.
Remember, if you want some, you cannot. Like don't catch up with them, then you.
We will catch up with you.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
I know you will. Just tell me.
Got it.
So you know it.
Yes.
All right. Good luck, guys.
At this point, I did not feel calm or confident. The fear of not being good enough, and as a result being stuck in the desolate lunar landscape of a foreign country, was chilling. I nearly quit right then and there, turned around and headed back the way I had come. But I had entered the race with a goal. A very abstract, and as we shall see later, flimsy goal, to see parts of Iceland that I would not otherwise see. I wanted to go beyond the tourist ring road and see the weirder bits of the country. And at the 50-kilometer mark, I had not yet seen the natural beauty I was hoping for. It turns out I made the right choice not to turn around. After that water table, the road headed into the mountain, and after the first little turn, the awesome visuals started. In the next 30 kilometers, the terrain was intoxicating. Strange expanses of black, grey or brown, the steep uphills and crazy descents, the evidence of creeping lava fields and the spiky remnants of ancient eruptions. Chilly water crossings with remnants of ice that hint at the snowy winters these plains must experience. We saw mountains that looked like moth wings and shale that looked like eggshells. It was enough to blow my mind and make me feel things. Wonder, awe, disbelief, exhilaration. Here's another danger! What's happening? Okay, I'm getting it. What the hell? After 80 kilometers, I accomplished my goal. I experienced the Icelandic highlands. At no point during this ride did I doubt my ability to finish the course. I'm comfortable with the distance, and the inevitable physical pain was infinitely survivable. I managed my sore bum and legs, I fueled and drank religiously, and I controlled my pace and heart rate. But at 100 kilometers in, things got mentally tough. The physical suffering was starting to accumulate. The terrain flattened out, the scenery got more boring, and the road surface was unrelentingly corrugated and sandy. I'd been sitting on a saddle for over 8 hours. I have been in this dark place before, but this time I couldn't quite access the motivation that gave this suffering meaning. This video has been very hard for me to make. I spent a lot of time trying to make sense of the event and to find the story in the footage, and also a lot of time procrastinating because the mental struggle I experienced during the race was unexpected. It took me a long time to wrap my mind around it because it makes me question why I do these things. I think for a while I equated my physical performance or my ability to complete a goal with my worth as a person, and in that kind of narrative, the bigger the event is, the better, because the more worthy you are when you complete it. But I've spent a lot of time working through those feelings and separating my identity and my worth as a person from these types of events. So when I pick a goal like the Rift, what am I picking? Sure, having a goal to work towards is good, right? But trying to run a faster 5K park run serves that same purpose. It's a focus, it justifies the effort and suffering you're undergoing in the lead up to the event. It gives meaning to training. But something like the Rift is different to a park run. It's a level of endurance and suffering that goes beyond goal setting. Not that the goal isn't important. At the end of the day, I'm very glad that we completed the whole course and finished dead fucking last. We had completed the thing we had set out to complete. A goal adds to the pleasure of a task. No one would choose a Sisyphean activity. Cycling with no endpoint, even if the scenery was great, would be torture. Speaking of Sisyphean activities, the water table at kilometer 80 and kilometer 100 is the same water table. Yes, we have reached the known sapper of motivation, the loop. Going out on a 20-kilometer loop after 80 kilometers in the saddle and ending up back in the same place is challenging. I thought about quitting twice in this point of the race. When we reached the water table and realized we would loop back to it, I considered just pulling out. All of a sudden, I didn't really want to be there. I tried hard to focus to find a rhythm, but gosh darn it, was it hard. It was as if someone had flipped off the switch to my motivation, focus, and clarity. I could easily have called it a day, put my bike in the truck, and gotten a lift back to the finish line. Instead, I got on my bike and cycled the loop. When we got back to the water table for the second time, we discussed not going forward, popping the bikes in the truck and getting a lift to the finish line. But we still didn't quit. Why? Because chosen suffering can lead to great pleasure, and it's an essential part of experiences we deem to be meaningful, and indeed of a meaningful life. As Aldous Huxley puts it, but I don't want comfort. I want God. I want poetry. I want real danger. I want freedom. I want goodness. I want sin. I think this desire for poetry and danger goes some way towards explaining why a normal person like me does these stupid things. As Roosevelt said, the credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly. Who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. I think this desire to strive, to come short again and again, to know great enthusiasms, to feel something, is something that's amplified in events like the Rift. The dark place, the place where, like a switch, your motivation and enjoyment of the chosen suffering are switched off, is different for everyone. For me, the dark place is the place where everything seems suddenly impossible, where I don't know what the point is of continuing because it won't matter anyway. It's like the worst things you've ever thought about yourself being whispered in your ear as truth by an omniscient God. The Rift is not the first time I have entered the dark place. Over the years, I've learned a few things about this place. 1. It is more likely to find me in moments of extreme exertion, sleep deprivation, and caloric deficit. 2. Sometimes the doorway to the dark place appears in the form of a vicious uphill, a crash, or a mechanical. But sometimes the darkness creeps in with no obvious obstacle in sight. Both places are equally dark. 3. The dark place feels final and fatal. 4. In fact, the dark place can be easily fixed with rest and calories, i.e., it is not final or fatal. And lastly, there seems to be another way out of the dark place, one that has to do with the mind more than the body. On the Rift, every now and then, the road surface would improve and the headwind would abate, and Jess and I could ride next to each other. These were my favorite moments. I'm not entirely certain I can explain the mental effect of this to someone who hasn't experienced it. Just like that, in 2 minutes of conversation with a friend, I pepped up. The conversation brought me nothing in terms of rest, sleep, calories, or relief for my bum, and yet it helped. Physically, I was the same, but mentally, something changed. Some people call this hope, a reminder that dark times aren't unending tunnels, that if we look ahead and keep on going, we will find a light at the end. To me, the energy feels more free and useless. A reminder that you are not alone in what you're feeling, that the world, and by extension a different version of you, exists outside this moment. That it's not that bad, really, and that you chose to be here and to feel this, and that you are, in fact, alive. So that's it, right? The end of the video. I found the answer, the antidote to the dark place. No. The light in the darkness is fleeting and flickering. 20 kilometers of non-stop sand and corrugations is enough to extinguish it. And at the last water table, we got really, really, really close to quitting. For real this time. At the last water table, we were once again earnestly and kindly encouraged to call it a day. With about 15 kilometers to go, it was unlikely that we would finish the route in the 14-hour cutoff time. We were provided with an alternate route, a shortcut along the tar road to the finish line. As I've spoken about before in my videos, at the end of an ultra-endurance event, every kilometer stretches out. 15 kilometers, which sounds like nothing now, seemed like an unbearable eternity in that moment. I was done, and I knew it. It made complete sense in my mind to give up. Jess and I shared our concerns with each other, and our fears and pains amplified each other. I suddenly realized that it was the dark place talking, but I wasn't sure how to get it to shut up. Call Mike, I said. Jess called her fiancé, and the dark place was instantly revealed for what it was. Getting someone on the outside, in the normal place, who knows the real you, on the line, is like momentarily stepping out of the dark place and looking in. It reminds you of your goals, your commitments, your view of yourself. Hearing yourself say things out loud reveals the decision to do a 7-kilometer detour over the 15 kilometers to the finish line to be ridiculous, even though 10 seconds ago it seemed like the most logical thing in the world. Jess ended the phone call crying. He says, "Of course we can stop if we think that's the right call," she told me, "but he thinks we'll regret it if we give up now." As toxic as some of the language around exercise can become, of centering your identity around whether you did every fucking inch of a course, or lambasting yourself for it did not finish, crossing that finish line did feel good. We were the last 2 people over the line, and we didn't make the cutoff time, having an official time of 14 hours, 29 minutes, and 51 seconds. So why do we do things like the Rift? For me, this time, it wasn't to prove myself or because my identity was wrapped up in our success. It wasn't even to achieve my goal, because I had achieved that 80 kilometers in, when I had been immersed in and astonished by the natural beauty of Iceland. Sure, we want to be the doer of deeds, but what deeds? What makes a 200-kilometer ride around a volcano meaningful? It is a useless activity that has no practical purpose. I didn't become a better person or get to know myself or other humans better. I didn't become more resilient or experience transcendence. These are lessons I definitely learned in the previous decade of ultra endurance. But now I think I'm motivated by something else. I think I am attracted to useless but difficult activities out of curiosity. I do things I think are worth doing to discover the fire in myself. These are not my words. It is how Walter Lippmann describes Amelia Earhart's accomplishment. He says, "The best things of mankind are useless. They are the things that are undertaken not for some definite measurable result, but because someone, not counting the costs or calculating the consequences, is moved by curiosity." Those who are moved by curiosity do not know what they discover. They do not know where their impulse is taking them. They can give no account in advance of where they are going or explain completely where they have been. They have been possessed for a time with an extraordinary passion which is unintelligible in ordinary terms. They do the useless, brave, noble, the divinely foolish, and the very wisest things that are done by man. And what they prove to themselves and to others is that man is no mere creature of his habits, no mere automaton in his routine, no mere cog in the collective machine, but that in the dust of which he is made there is also fire, lighted now and then by the great winds from the sky.